All right, so hello YouTubers. This will be an intro or overview to Intel versus AMD processors. I get the question a lot of what a AMD or what an Intel processor is, what's the main difference, what they do different, or what they actually are basically. For those of you that don't know what AMD stands for, it's basically, or Intel, they're going to be the processors that are within your computer that allow you to do different types of things. To start off with, I'll do an Intel processor. So, Intel processor, and then AMD's. So, Intel will have 5 processors. Most basic one will be Celeron, then your Pentium, then your i3, i5, i7. All right, that will be your Intel processors. After that, you'll have AMD. AMD has multiple processors that fall into different categories. So within your most basic, so we'll expand this, go in a little bit. Celeron, it has a few AMD processors that will fall into this category. So there will be the E1, 2, E1, E2, the A4 are going to be in the Celeron level. Then your Pentium will be the A6. Then your i3 will be an A8. Then as you move along, your i5, there's debate on what one stands for, which one stands for what. So you'll have your AMD A9, A10, and A12. These are pretty much basic quad-core processors that would interface or pretty much be comparable to your i5 processor, Intel Core i5. So these three are going to be comparables. Then you'll have your i7, which will be most closely related to the FX, AMD FX processor. So basically it will break down into levels. So you'll have your Intel processor, Celeron, which will be for basic browsing, so like email, browsing, paying bills online, paying bills. So that's what it's going to be. From there, you'll have your A6. A6 will be basic document, so like basic office documents, as well as browsing the internet, doing your basic applications, Office, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, within your basic standards. If you're learning or you're a student in school, without having the major lag of having, let's say, multiple pages open, and then having to deal with the lag of moving from one aspect to other. All right, then you'll have your i3. So this one is just going to be a little bit better for multitasking in a home setting. Multitasking. So your Celeron Pentiums or E1s, A4s, all those are going to be your basic home use. Your best for in-home use for multiple users will probably be your i3 processor if it's not a business or college student application. All right, Then your i5 will be basically for business, college students, Photoshop, and similar applications. And then your i7 or FX will be for video editing. And then graphic design. And any of the high intensive applications, 3D rendering. All right. All right. So that's basically the main breakdown of what you will get from one processor to the other. So they have very similar specs in terms of clock speed, which means how fast they process. You'll have variances with one and the other. So the main differences from like these first three right here to these down here is going to be, these guys are going to have turbo boost, or I don't know, I don't remember what AMD actually calls it within their system. So basically your i5 and i7s, what they do in comparison to these guys is going to be they overclock or compensate, speed up to compensate for the overload in information. So these three will have a standard processor power speed. So like Celeron, Pentium, i3, i5, i7. So like these three will have your standard speed. So set speed, I believe. Speed. And then your i5s and i7s will have turbo boost. Turbo boost. So whenever you turbo boost, basically you overload it with documents or multiple pages open or like Photoshop, and you're running a whole bunch of different images at the same time. The i5 will compensate for it, automatically speed up to compensate for the overload of information, and will not give you lag or as much lag as let's say an i3 would do without the turbo boost. So this one, let's say you're doing 20-30 pages at the same time or 20 tasks at the same time, it might be too much for it, and it'll reach a point to where it'll start doing that little circle that's thinking and thinking. So basically instead of having to wait for that, the i5 will allow you to overclock and compensate for the overload. And then the same thing with the i7. The i7 will turbo boost usually to 2.2 gigahertz, 0.2 to 0.3, something around that, to compensate for the speed or the multitasking or 3D rendering or whatever it is you're doing. So that's basic. That's going to be the basic overview of what processors basically are, AMD or Intel. There's comparisons as well. And then the one I did mention, the one I did forget to mention was the M processor. So within Intel, you'll actually have your M series or mobile series. So M3, 5, and 7. It's just your mobile versions or fanless designs of the i3, i5, and i7. So they'll usually run at a lower speed, be for basic work situations or basic document situations. But I really don't have a big opinion of them just because they perform at a lower spec, and their turbo boost settings are not permanent, so they'll raise up in speed at 1 second and then later drop back down to keep it cool, basically. So All right. So let me know if there's anything I can help you guys with, and just see you next time.